Happy Devils Monday. This is Game Day Live from the Primetime Radio Studios. I'm sorry we're not at Taj Lounge 973 today or Thursday. Work life, personal life got in the way. Vinny, before we begin, I just got to tell you. So I had to rearrange my schedule, my work schedule, right? And I had to tell T is the manager at Taj Lounge 973. Can't do it. For a 5 p.m. meeting, and the people didn't even show up. Can you believe that?
That's the worst.
It's the worst. I want to be with the fans right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just absolutely horrible. Sorry for the technical difficulties last time we tried to do this, but we figured it out. It's okay, Vinny. I can hear you now. You look great. You look stupendous. And the Devils look excellent. 3-0-0 going into tonight's matchup against the Washington Capitals. They beat them last time on the opening of preseason. I'm expecting that the Capitals will strike back like they normally do. But, Vinny, it is an NHL-heavy lineup today, isn't it?
Yeah, Sam. So first of all, you look awesome as well. Let's not skate right past that. You look great, looking good as always. And yeah, the technical difficulties, it was a learning experience, but we got through and we're here now. So that's all that matters. But yeah, um heavy NHL lineup tonight. We know Jack Hughes, Ty Smith, and Damon Severson are dealing with some injuries, so they're not going to play. Ty Smith is likely out for the rest of the preseason, and opening night is in jeopardy, but you're going to see Mackenzie Blackwood start the first two periods of the game in net. Scott Wedgwood will play the third. Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Pavel Zacha. All of these guys will be playing tonight. It's going to be pretty fun to watch them play against those pesky Washington Capitals.
Yeah, so a couple people out, but before we talk about the ones that aren't playing tonight, Tom Fitzgerald, I want to get your opinion on this. He got some more beef on the blue line. I mean, this is ridiculous, but I'm not stopping him. And he's going to be in the lineup tonight, I believe. Mason Gearston, 6'4", I don't know, 225, 230-pound defenseman. Wow, he is a man of his word, isn't he, Vinny?
Yeah, and I was a little surprised to see it. Like, oh, we're adding beef this late in the training camp process, this late in the off season, if you will. He's been playing forward for the past year or so, and according to Devils reporter Amanda Stein, he will be playing fourth line left wing tonight. So it's a little interesting to see that he kind of went from being this like big, mean, beefy defenseman to being this fourth line grinder type guy. And we'll see how that works against the Capitals. I don't know if they end up playing any of their big guns tonight. I haven't really taken a look at their starting lineup at all, but it's an interesting move for Tom Fitzgerald for sure.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because I didn't know that he's actually playing fourth line minutes tonight. And the Devils in the past, years ago, would do that. Would take a defenseman, someone with beef. If you remember Sean Brown, I believe he
Yep.
played on the fourth line. You talk about some infamous defensemen that would play forward because of the beef that they bring. Dustin Bufflin. You think about Chicago.
Yep.
I
Brent
like the
Burns.
depth. Yep. Because I'll tell you what, you do want to have depth on defense. I'm a defense guy. I preach that. I say that all the time. And if you can carry someone on your roster that can both play defense when needed, because penalties do happen, guys get kicked out. It's Dougie Hamilton, if he gets in a fight, out for 5 minutes. Who's going? You don't want to wind. Your blue line. It's nice to have that guy slide back as a sixth spot or the third pairing. to give some depth. I like that move, and I think the Devils are experimenting and trying that out right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Devils have been, outside of being a bad hockey team for the last 3 or 4 years now, they've been kind of pushed around. And they've looked at times like they were easy to play against. All their best players, for the most part, are on the smaller side. The defense has gotten bigger over the last offseason. They added a guy like Graves. Dougie Hamilton's not too small himself. PK Subban is even still there as a nice veteran third pair guy. So adding this Gearston guy to who can play forward and defense could go a long way.
Yeah, and I love the size. I love the attention to detail and size. Speaking of beef, if you think about it, if all three pairings on defense have that kind of size, two, now we're talking about pairings of two big guys. You talk about Kevin Ball, you talk about Dougie Hamilton, Ryan Graves. I even consider Severson a pretty decent sized defenseman. He's
Oh
probably
yeah.
the smallest guy right now, aside from Ty Smith. That there will always be a big physical presence on the ice because naturally the Devils forwards, they come with speed and skill. Aside from Zaka, there's really not much size on offense. And just having the defense out there and knowing that they're going to protect the goaltender, it kind of stretches the ice a little bit because you're talking about in the defensive zone, and follow me, Vinny, in the defensive zone, Mackenzie Blackwood makes a save, Dougie Hamilton or Ryan Graves clears it out, but you can really stretch the ice and put the opposing blue line on their heels, knowing that Tatar, Hughes, Heischer, they're going to fly up the ice and play the north-south game. And I think that's where the Devils are going to have success because if you've seen their scoring during preseason, a lot of it is transitional. Just in transition. Sharon Govich, that first goal of preseason was really sweet, I believe, from Holtz. All the way up on
Yep.
the ice, boom, done, one-on-one with the goalie, let the skill take over, Devils score. And I think that's almost like the fun and gun game that Tom Fitzgerald wants his team to play. But he does realize you do need size back there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So it's always nice when the guys with size bring that element of skill. And people don't think of Graves or, you know, to a lesser extent, someone like Damon Severson, who's the exact opposite of Graves. You want these guys who can have like just a little bit of puck skill as well. And Graves, like I said, when you think of him, you don't necessarily think of someone who just dominates you offensively. He's not Eric Carlson out there, but he can
Yeah.
make a pass. He could send it up the ice to someone like Hughes and watch him go make his magic with Kwokanen or Sharon Govich, or depending on the lines, whether it be Heischer, Bratt, Tatar. There are so many options out there that as long as you have two towers back there on defense, it could really help the team, as you said, score in transition, or even if they get into their own zone and you got some good puck moving in the offensive zone and you got a big sturdy defenseman back there and you could feed it up to the point and he has enough skill to know whether to either make a pass or take a shot. PK Subban scored a goal a couple days
Yes.
ago where it came back to him off of some nice work low in the zone and he just got it back up at the point and he ripped it home. And if you see, and there was traffic in front of the net. And so if they put the right people with the right size in the right position, you can score some goals and protect the house at the same time.
Absolutely. And Getty27 on the YouTube Live, he writes, it's amazing how big we got this season. Devils ain't taking any you-know-what. I can't say it out loud. And that's exactly what I was preaching and complaining about all post-game last season, Vinny, was we need size. We need size. We need to clear out the crease. We need a presence because our young talent is just getting absolutely abused and taken advantage of by the opposing big guys. They didn't have to do much. Tom Wilson didn't have to do much. The Rangers didn't have to do much. But now you have size on that blue line, and I think we're going to see a team. Watch out for the transition game. And I'll say it again. Watch out for that transition game because not only are defense big, size, speed, but if their outlet passes are crisp, once they get that puck in possession, those forwards are going to fly. They're going to fly up the ice 2-on-1, 3-on-1 if you catch them off guard.
And there's enough skill up front to be confident that that type of game will work. It took Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier a little bit to really show. I mean, Nico was awesome in his rookie season, but for the most part, the offense, it hasn't come as much as we think it will yet. And now that I think you have goal scorers like Tatar, like Bratt, like Sharangovich, if Dawson Mercer and Alexander Holtz make the roster, eventually they'll be really, really good. They're already looking pretty good now. There's going to be rookie walls and stuff like that. But I mean, when you have defense, like you said, that can make those crisp passes, the transition game could be where you see skill start to take over. And that's going to help the Devils win a lot of hockey games if that goes according to plan.
And who I'm really interested, you talk about beef. Let's talk about beef on the offensive side. Jesper Bratt putting on about 4 pounds of muscle during the offseason. Last season, Scotty on the Sunday edition pointed out that it was Jesper Bratt that was sticking up for his teammates. And we're like, you can't have this guy do that. But after listening to him during preseason, during one of the first interviews, he wants the leadership role. He does not want to be a one-dimensional player. He wants to be on this team. And that's the kind of theme that we're getting from the players. They're saying all the right things, but you can kind of tell, Vinny, that they know something special is about to happen here, and they're all putting it on the line to keep themselves on the roster. What are your thoughts about Jesper Bratt putting on 4 pounds of muscle and possibly taking more, driving the puck towards the net one-on-one?
Yeah. Jesper Bratt has always kind of had somewhat of an attitude. It kind of seemed like he's been a little feisty this whole time, but nobody ever really thinks of him as like this mean-spirited player. Like he's often displayed skill on lots of occasion. But when I think of Jesper Bratt, I automatically kind of like lump him right there in with Nico because they came into the league at the same time. And these guys are entering their 5th season on the team. And the only season that hasn't really completely sucked for them in terms of winning has been the first season, Nico and Bratt's rookie year when Hall won the MVP. So I think it's pretty good to see Jesper Bratt take some initiative like that, try to put on some muscle weight and believe he can be a leader on the team because this is their team now. Hall's gone, Palmieri's gone, Zajak's gone, Andy Green is gone. The oldest forward is got to be, it's probably Tatar now, but last season the oldest forward was Miles Wood. So like
That's crazy.
these guys just have to take over and be the new leaders on the team. Nico has the captain. Bratt has probably got a voice in the room now. Eventually, Jack Hughes is going to start being that guy. So good on Jesper Bratt for doing what he needs to do to help impact the game in every way possible.
Yeah, and Nico Hischier, it takes the pressure off of him. It was good to see him get on the score sheet with a game-winning goal in the first preseason game. Nico Hischier had probably the worst luck that anybody could imagine, getting hit in the face, COVID, an injury before training camp, abbreviated
The
training
leg.
camp, named captain, and then can't play. But what we saw was he did come back by the end of the season. He tried to finish up strong. and he didn't mail it in. The playoffs were without, out of reach. And there's a reason why Nico Heischer is the captain of the New Jersey Devils. I think he's going to have one of those seasons this year, a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to make up for lost time. I see it, and he's now got the support around him. Out with the old blood, in with the new blood. Alexander Holtz is looking good. Dawson Mercer is looking great. There's debate if they're going to actually make the opening night roster or not, but either you can't go wrong either way. And I talked about this on the Sunday podcast last night. I actually bumped into Kevin Dineen. He was actually at the game, Devils Rangers. Let me tell you something about Kevin Dineen. That guy's a serious guy. And I try to eavesdrop, and I shouldn't have been doing it because, you always want to get in the mindset of the head coach, Utica Comets, because he's going to be developing these kids. Guys, all business, serious. I likened his very quiet, confident. If you remember Brent Sutter, when he coached the Devils, that low tone voice, very serious, commands that respect. That's what I got out of it. Of the 2 minutes that I was trying to, but unfortunately he was on the other side where I couldn't say hello. What's that?
I'm not surprised at all. I remember when he was Chicago's assistant coach. He like with Joel Quenneville. That guy knows what he's doing, and he has a great mindset for developing young players. So I think it's really going to help the Devils having him around.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can't go wrong. If I know, for me, I'm being selfish when I want to say I want number 10 Alexander Holtz in the lineup, but the reality is you can't rush these guys. They got to develop. They got to physically develop. They got to mentally develop. They need time to adjust to a professional level. And I'm not saying they don't have the talent. It's just, hey, when you were in first grade, you didn't go into high school right away, right?
Exactly.
Some kids
and
do.
Like for me, this is a younger team. So if Holtz and Mercer made it, I don't think they would necessarily be fish out of water, like quite like they would if they made the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Colorado Avalanche or the Vegas Golden Knights. Like I said, last year the oldest forward by the end of the year was Miles Wood, who's like 25. PK Subban is in his 30s now, and is PK Subban the oldest player on the team? It's probably either him or Tatar. Oh, and Dougie Hamilton's probably in his late 20s now too. So I mean, there are some veterans on the blue line for sure. But if the nice thing about Holtz is we know he'll play in the AHL and then get called up whenever ready. Mercer, the decision's going to be a little bit different this time around because I do believe it's either WHL or NHL for him, right?
Yeah. I I think the key thing with rookies, young players, Vinny, is if they're going to be with the big club, they better get the playing time. I don't want to see them learning on the bench. You,
Agreed.
you learn by mistakes. You learn by practicing, but also getting some actual playing time. Otherwise, I think it would be counterproductive. It's okay. They're the 22nd and 23rd man on the roster, and they're barely breaking the line. I rather see them playing first line minutes in Utica, just like that.
Yeah,
You know,
you don't want them to end up like Jesper Boquist in a way, where this
yeah,
guy makes the team. He plays 40 games out of 82. They didn't play 82 in 2019-20 because of COVID, but whatever it was, like 70, whatever. He only plays like 35, 40 games out of those. And in those games, he's getting 12, 13 minutes with guys who aren't even close to the same skill level as him. Like, I'm trying to think of who was probably on the fourth line that year. Even someone like Miles Wood. Like, Miles Wood's a good player. I'm not putting Jesper Boquist with him in a checking role. So if you're not putting them with the Jack Hugheses or the Nico Heischiers, or even if you have a third line with someone like Dawson Mercer centering it, like I'm with you. If they're the young guys and they're skill guys, they have to be either top minutes in Utica or top minutes in New Jersey. You pick.
absolutely. So
Nico too, right? And
yeah,
Brett in their rookie year, right there with Hall. opening
Yep.
opening night playing with Hall, first line, and look how they're turning out. They're great players. So
They're excellent players. And moving forward, Vinny, this podcast, Game Day Live, will be at Taj Lounge 973 in the beautiful heart of the Ironbound section of Newark, actually right across the street from the Prudential Center on Edison Place. October 15th. All hands are on deck. Let's Go Devils podcast will be live. Vinny, you'll be with us virtually live. We're going to have monitors outside. We're going to have loudspeakers. We're going to have cameras all over the place. Come to Taj Lounge 973. Sorry about tonight, folks. I know I announced it like I was plugging it all yesterday that I'll be there, but work life got in the way, but we still did it. We're in the Primetime Radio studios. Not the same, but we will be there, I'm sure. Also, I'm going to be working out with the bar anytime that we're in the Primetime Radio studios. You still get to see us at Taj Lounge 973 because we are starting to control and monopolize the TVs down in Newark, where you can find
love to see it.
us. You could find us, but somehow you can't find the Devils because this ESPN app is driving people nuts. The MSG networks and Xfinity. Vinny, we were talking about this before we went on, and we have about 5 minutes left. Tell me what it's like, because we've got a lot of Devils fans across the world, from Australia to Canada to India to UK and Germany. What's it like to be a Devils fan watching your team in an out-of-market area? What's it like now?
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. So for the last 7 or 8 years, I've used NHL TV. I pay my subscription. I accept my loss and I pay the subscription. And the only reason I do it, people are like, "Oh, you could get it for free here. You could stream it there." When you pay, you get what you pay for. Sometimes I would click the app and boom, right there, click watch. It's over. It's on. It would only black out the games that are nationally televised, so NBC or NBCSN, and then the Chicago Blackhawks. I live in a suburb of Chicago, about 40 miles out. So it's tough when they play on, when they play the Hawks, because then if it's in New Jersey, I'll have to watch Chicago's broadcast. If it's here in Chicago, I'll just go to the game. But so now that it's switched over to ESPN Plus, if you're an out of market fan, that's the only way to use the new NHL TV. It all switched over to ESPN Plus. And so with the not every preseason game being broadcasted, you kind of got to get creative. And once the regular season starts and they're all live on MSG, I'm sorry to Xfinity owners until that gets worked out. But while they're on MSG, then they'll be on the ESPN Plus app, and that's how I'll be watching the out of market Devils.
I think tonight's game is on NJD.TV. Hopefully,
Yep.
all the out of market people can watch it. Did they ever suspend or geofence like some of the games that like up in Buffalo, the Prospect Challenge? Were you able to watch that, or
The Prospect Challenge I was able to watch.
okay?
There have been years where I had to do it through the other team's page. So like I've gone to bostonbruins.com or buffalosabres.com and clicked it through there. I'm really hoping that the New Jersey Devils allow this out of market stream tonight. I think it's going to, because normally they specify when it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about it tonight. I think I'm definitely going to be able to pick it up. So we'll be watching for sure.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. And I don't condone this because I believe in paying for, you don't want to steal. But when these things happen, naturally it's capitalism. People are going to get creative. They're going to figure it out. They're hooked, they're obsessed, and once you take it away from them over a stupid negotiation, guess what? They're going to find an alternative. That's where ingenuity comes in. I've heard of,
Yeah,
the NHL.TV. My friend had it. He gets all the Devils games. And I'm like, don't you live in market? He's like, oh, I could do some VPN or whatever. I don't even know what he's talking about. It's like, oh, I could change this. Not a problem. People are going to find a
yeah.
way, and you get too greedy, you're going to get butchered. And I'm speaking to
I mean, look
you.
at guys like me and you, Sam.
Yeah.
Like we've dedicated our life to making people entertained when it comes to our teams. Like I know you like discussing the Mets and the Devils as much as I like discussing the White Sox and the Devils. Like we've dedicated our life to this stuff, so we're gonna figure out a way to watch our team come hell or high water.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, last but not least, I went to Penn State University, State College, Pennsylvania. I had Devil season tickets, which I practically either gave it away, most of them, well, because but I did travel. I did do the 4-hour trip from State College to the Meadowlands, one way and back. But I also figured out a way to put a direct TV dish at my apartment. And I actually got so creative because I had to, it was in 2000, 2001. So you can imagine how good the Devils were. Flyer fans, Pittsburgh Penguins fans. And what I did to get my team, and this is before live streaming, I looked at my lease, apartment lease. You weren't supposed to do pretty much anything, just like any landlord would want you to do. But I noticed there was a loophole. You're not allowed to drill holes, but you could do everything else. So I created this mount to mount the satellite dish off of a plant, a pot, and put it on my balcony. And I asked because I had to make sure, is this okay? As long as there's no holes, we don't care. And that's exactly what I did. And I had the line of sight, and I had my Devils for an entire year on DirecTV in college.
Now
That's
that's
how you
getting
have to
creative.
do it. Yeah, if any geeks out there, they want to know, email me at sam@letsgodevils.com how I mounted a satellite dish without drilling holes. I was able to do it. You find a
Very good.
way.
That's the way it's got to
You
be.
find a
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Find a way.
But Vinny, definitely a pleasure. I'm going to love these game day lives at Taj Lounge 97.3. I'm going to be loving interacting with the fans. Just one more comments. We're not on Facebook Live tonight because there's a worldwide outage. Somehow we're on Twitter Live, even though we're not supposed to be. We made it work. We just pushed it out, the stream. Little Fireboy 87 says, I can't wait to see Gravy play. I didn't actually get to watch him against the Rangers. DMCG 117. Last question. Do you think this young Devils core has potential to be a dynasty team when and if they hit their prime? I personally think there's a chance. Let's go. Last question, Vinny. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they can, but the word dynasty scares me a little bit because I think of the teams that got close to being dynasties: Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Los Angeles. And like it got even really hard for them after a while. Like eventually guys get paid, guys move on, there's decline, guys decline at different rates. So you're still a pretty good team, but you might not be the elite team anymore. It's really hard. I hope this core wins one Stanley Cup. That to me is where I'll start. If they ever get that one, then we'll start talking about what could come after that from there. But they do have a goalie. They have a number one defenseman. They have two good number two defensemen. And they have a top line center that is a two-way guy. And they have a top line center that's an all offensive guy. And that's normally the recipe to winning in the NHL. So if they all hit their stride, yes, I do believe they can build around that core.
great dynasties are built by great drafting and and getting those prospects in the late rounds, such as Sharon Govich, Jesper Bratt. So
Yep.
if the
Quoking it in a
Devils,
trade.
yep, if the Devils are going to be a dynasty, keep filling that pipeline, baby. I mean, that's
Yep.
all it, and taking risks like Tom Fitzgerald has, because getting multiple first round picks, Chase Stillman, Malcolm Madul, and Dawson Mercer, some extra picks there, goes a long way. Unfortunately, they were bad enough to get those picks. So, like I said, you're going to have to rely on your scouting department, analytics, those later rounds. And what made the Detroit Red Wings probably the closest thing to a dynasty back in the late 90s and early 2000s and probably till 2008, Ken Holland drafted Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg and Lou Lamoriello on those later rounds towards in 2000. What, Mike Jefferson, Danton?
Yeah.
It didn't really work out. I mean, he had some great picks like Zach Parise, Travis Zajac, or whatnot. But the Red Wings, the difference between the Red Wings, and I give the Red Wings the edge over the Avalanche, the Devils, even the Dallas Stars for that matter, during that time period, late round picks. That's what gets it done. And that's why you should pay attention to the NHL draft in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Because you never know where there's a Sharon Govich that may pop up out of nowhere from one of these obscure countries out in Europe. You just never know.
Exactly.
Never
And
know.
they did enough losing to win 2 draft lotteries. And so you got Nico and you got Jack. You did the losing. Now, like you said, keep supplementing it in the later rounds, late in first rounds. Hit on guys like Dawson Mercer and Ty Smith with late teen picks. If Shakir Muhammadulin and Chase Stillman work out, those were like risky picks that people don't like. If they work out, Tom Fitzgerald's going to look like a genius. Sometimes that's the kind of stuff you need to happen to become a quote-unquote dynasty.
Absolutely. And Vinny, hopefully Facebook Live will be up and running. Join me for the Let's Go Devils post-game live. I'll do the nice, hopefully happy Devils recap afterwards, analysis, and getting your thoughts on the game. Vinny, it's a pleasure. This is Game Day Live. Enjoy the game, everybody. Let's go Devils.